But first, you're about to meet artist Henry Watson, whose art is as unique and fascinating as the man himself.
It's like music to your ears.
Henry Watson crafts art like few others in the world.
It's called a lost art, you know. But you know it's not lost because everywhere you go now, you're going to find it's a Watson somewhere.
A Watson is a hand-chiseled, hand-painted, three-dimensional piece of Louisiana history.
What I created in my works is a history lesson. I like to tell people of the days gone by.
Days like the ones he shared and cherished with his grandmother.
I'll tell you what, the best thing happened to me was I stayed with my grandmother. You know, not only did she teach me how to deal with people and how to appreciate your surrounding and to make do with what you had, you know. So it wasn't all of the fancy things because she never had all that, but she took the simplest things and she lived off it, and she was the happiest person that you ever can imagine.
She was legally blind, so Henry became her eyes. As they traveled the back roads of Pointe Coupee Parish, he described the scenery. In the process, he developed a keen sense of detail in the beauty all around him.
To become good and successful, you do what you know. And what I do know is Louisiana. So I do, and I capture what's in Louisiana. Things that I've seen, things I know about, that I could put in my carving and tell a story.
Henry's art carvings are in homes that range from former governors all the way to the Vatican. Here's a letter from Pope John Paul II, thanking Henry for the carved portrait he did of him on his trip to New Orleans in 1987.
The priest say, we don't get a chance. We don't have nothing written from the Pope, you know, so you got a rarity.
Henry's a rarity too. He's as energetic as he is engaging, gregarious as he is gifted. You have an infectious personality. Where does that come from?
Well, I don't know. People tell me, say, I love your art, I love your work, but I really love you. So whatever I got, I don't want to lose it. I want to keep it.
His friend for nearly 30 years, Gene Seneca, remembers the first day they met.
The first moment I met him, you know, he lived right across the street. I kind of waved a few times, but once we met, we became friends and been friends ever since.
This is a beautiful selection of Henry's work that dates from 1981 to 2016. But it's not Henry's, it's his dear friend Gene's. And Gene brought this over so we could see it, because you'll never find more than one or two Watsons here. They've already been sold, or he's in the middle of a commission piece. They go that fast. This is the first one Gene bought on that very day they met.
I first met Henry on Sexton Lane. I was selling firecrackers and stopped, and he sold it to me. I had a few dollars in my pocket, so I bought it. And after I purchased it, it was a very good price. I told him, now you got to start putting a price on them, old buddy, because he pretty much gave it away.
What he sold to Gene for $40 then goes for more than $400 today.
And I knew it was a great deal, even though it was the first one I ever saw, because like Henry, I love old cypress, old growth cypress. That's the whole key.
Cypress is the only wood Henry will carve on. Its soft grain, straight lines, and history make it irresistible.
Cypress wood, these trees was cut down out the swamps. They could be 200-300 years old. They cut these trees down, took them to the mill, put them into boards. They built houses, sharecroppers, cabins, barns. I come 150 years later, tear down this old building that's fallen down, and I turn it into three-dimensional carving. So look at the history of the time. So the building I found was 150 years old, but the tree was probably 300 years old before they cut it. So look how many years into making that work.
Henry first carved 40 years ago in art class at Livonia High School.
15 years as a youngster creating and carving, you had no idea what it would become, what you would do in your life. People said, you always wanted to be an artist? You thought you would be? No. I was just doing something every day because I love doing it. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, if you enjoy what you do and you do it enough, you're either going to get good at it or you'll quit.
Henry follows the same steps and principles in his art today as he did when he was a teenager. First, he sketches his design onto the cypress.
And once you draw it out, then you start carving it, three-dimensional. And the three-dimensional stages goes foreground, middle ground, and background. So as I carve and work, you'll see those stages starting to come out. And then when you see the finished product, you see how it all arrived.
His tools are simple. Different sized, inexpensive chisels he buys at the hardwood store. And a wooden mallet he made by hand.
My mallet was just a 2x4. I cut this piece of 2x4 and I shaped it just for the right weight. So as I carve and beat on it, you don't overwork your hands, and you don't miss the chisel.
This one he's used the last 10 years. But look at the one that preceded it. He used this one for 20 years.
I shaped it and made it, and look how the indentation, that tells you, how long you've been. The years, the hours, the time. Boy, if I lose one of these, I'm like, you're kind of lost. It's like a musician without his instrument, right? See, and basically what I'm doing, I'm cutting along the lines. Yeah. That after I drew it out, this is the top of the house, and all this got to come out because it's going to be in the background. Yes.
With every beat, he has to strike the right angle and depth.
See, while I'm doing this and I'm carving and doing, I'm thinking of like music, a song or something, because I'm tapping, I'm making, so I get a little rhythm going. And what I do, I'm entertaining myself so it don't feel like I'm working so hard. So you're starting to see the depth come out?
I am. Are you conscious of the depth, or you just do it
Right.
however you feel like it?
Yeah, and you do it little at a time. When I first was learning, I went through the back.
After it's carved and painted, it'll transform into a work of art.
From the shingles on to the bricks, it's all in that carve, you see? Wow. All hand carved, from the boards on it. Oh, so you have to pay close attention to the details of everything, see? So
and
you
like
don't want to
the
miss out on
moss
things.
is incredible too.
Yeah, see? And everything got the 3D, all of it 3D is in there. That's the closest thing to real life you're going to get, is like looking out the window.
Henry now sells his art for $6 a square inch. So this large 33 by 27 inch piece would cost $5,300. But the frame would cost nothing.
So you get the frame for free.
Is that right?
That's a little lanyard.
A little lanyard.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Right.
It wouldn't be anything in Louisiana without a little lanyard.
Always
That's
lanyard.
right.
That really makes it. Yes, ma'am.
For this one, though, they wheeled and dealed. Gene walked away with the painting. Henry drove away with this 1951 four-door Chevy. Henry remembers the first piece he ever sold and the special woman who bought it.
Lucy Paulange, I met her when I was 15, and she came to a fair and festival, and she saw what I was doing, and she fell in love with it. She said, not just you painting and drawing, you are carving it. She said, that's special. Now I'm 15 and I'm excited because I didn't know who she were at the time. And she said, I love what you're doing, I want to buy something. I said, you want to buy what I got? And I'll never forget, I think I sold the first piece for like $7. And I was happy because somebody wanted to buy something I made. Mm-hmm. She said, continue doing it. She said, and the world will be the pass through your door.
8 years later, Henry's art did go global.
I got selected to put my work in the World Fair. Ooh. And that opened doors because people came from all over the world to New Orleans to see what Louisiana had to offer. And my work started going. And they would go, wow, I never seen that before. From that point, I knew then, Henry Watson, you're making a niche in the world, because people would call you from Germany. Places I never heard of or been.
He's commissioned by people worldwide to do everything under the sun. Portraits, businesses, favorite musicians, alligators, pelicans, a streetcar named Desire, and Jackson Square, just to name a few. Even the History Channel commissioned Henry to carve a portrait of the Swamp People's Troy Landry.
Like 7 or 8 carvings for them,
I love it.
And they pay you pretty good. The History Channel, one thing about them, they don't have a problem in paying you. And this was they was advertising when you see it coming on, and they did that all over New York. Everywhere you went on, big old buildings.
When Hollywood actress Markie Post was in Henry's neck of the woods filming a movie, she saw his work and commissioned him to create a present for her husband.
Now I'm doing a carving of their house, and they built a house to look exactly like Rosedown Plantation.
No kidding.
I couldn't believe it. I said, you got a house up in North Hollywood of a southern plantation. She said, we always love it. We came down, we got all of the pictures and everything. We went back and built our house like Rosedown. She called me back when he was opening it up. She said, listen at this. So she was taking pictures. He was looking at it and he was crying, said he never ever had a gift like this.
Henry has a gift with people too.
I just watch Henry mingle with the people. It just touched my soul to see that happening. And somewhere along the way, I think I learned that from Henry. It's just being good to people, and it comes right back to you. It's just an amazing thing.
Henry's love for people and Louisiana illuminates through his art.
I'm looking for the little back road, the little church that's back in the woods that you barely notice. And I started thinking, how many songs and hymns were sung in there, you know, how many people, you know, went there. I just, you know, and then I started to recreate. So I capture all of that into the cypress, you know, and I tell the story of where we come from, you know. Those old back roads all had a story, all those old cabins. If these old boys could talk, what a story they'd tell.
Where does your joy come from?
My big joy comes from knowing that I could create a little bit of somebody's past. You know, I'm very passionate about my past and my grandmother and creating and doing, and it shows in my work. But everybody got a past. Everybody got somewhere they come from, or they got something they want to remember. And if I could take that and put it into a storyline, well, I just captured your legacy forever.